Have you ever felt like you were running from something, only to discover you were actually running toward exactly where you needed to be? That's what happened to me. My name is Alex Carter, and 6 months ago, I was drowning in the concrete chaos of Chicago working 60-hour weeks at a marketing firm that valued profits over people. Living in a shoebox apartment where the only view was another brick wall, and feeling like I was suffocating under the weight of expectations that were never really mine to begin with. I was 28 years old and couldn't remember the last time I'd taken a full breath. Then my therapist said something that changed everything. Alex, when was the last time you did something just because it made you feel alive? I didn't have an answer. 2 weeks later, I quit my job, sold most of my belongings, and applied for a ranch hand position at Broken Creek Ranch in Montana, place I'd never been, doing work I'd never done, for reasons I couldn't quite explain, even to myself. What I definitely wasn't looking for was love, and I certainly wasn't expecting to find it in the eyes of a rugged, infuriatingly stubborn cowboy foreman named Jake Morrison. But life has a way of giving us exactly what we need, precisely when we're not looking for it. This is our story. The bus dropped me at a crossroads that barely qualified as a town, just a gas station, a diner that had seen better decades, and a general store with a wooden porch that creaked in the wind. The Montana sky stretched endlessly above me, so vast and blue it made my chest ache with something I couldn't name. In Chicago, I'd forgotten the sky could be this big. I stood there with my 2 duffel bags, suddenly feeling ridiculous in my designer jeans and leather jacket, city clothes that screamed I didn't belong here. It must be the new hand. The voice came from behind me, low and rough like gravel under boots. I turned and forgot how to breathe. He was tall, at least 6'2", with shoulders broad enough to block out the sun. Dark hair curled slightly beneath a worn cowboy hat, and his face was all sharp angles and sun-weathered skin. But it was his eyes that caught me, storm gray and intense, studying me with an expression somewhere between skepticism and curiosity. Jake Morrison, the foreman, my new boss. Alex Carter, I managed, extending my hand. His grip was firm, calloused, and warm. The handshake lasted exactly 3 seconds, but I felt it everywhere. You ever worked a ranch before? He asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer. No, sir. One corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. Just Jake. And you're honest, at least. That's something. He picked up both my bags like they weighed nothing. Truck's this way. We've got about 40 minutes to the ranch. You can still back out now if you're having second thoughts. I'm not. He studied me for a long moment, those gray eyes searching for something. Then he nodded. We'll see. The ranch sprawled across the landscape like something out of a painting I couldn't afford, rolling hills dotted with cattle, fence lines stretching toward mountains that rose purple and magnificent in the distance, buildings weathered by time into a kind of rugged beauty. The main house was a 2-story log structure with a wraparound porch, and scattered around it were barns, stables, and a bunkhouse that would be my new home.
Ow.
My grandfather built most of these structures with his own hands. We run about 500 head of cattle, breed some of the finest quarter horses in the state, and keep things traditional. That means hard work, early mornings, and no shortcuts. You good with that? Yes. You keep saying yes, but you don't know what you're agreeing to yet. He cut the engine and turned to face me fully. City boy comes out here looking for what to find himself. Have some kind of eat, pray, love moment with livestock? Heat flashed through my embarrassment, mixed with irritation. I'm here to work, to learn, to be useful for once instead of just... I trailed off, surprised by my own honesty. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. Instead of just what? Instead of just existing? Going through motions. Being what everyone else needed me to be. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. He looked away first. Bunkhouse is through there. You'll share it with Miguel and Tommy Goodmen. Been here for years. Dinner's at 6 in the main house. Morning bell rings at 4:30. Don't be late. He grabbed my bags again. And Carter, whatever you're running from, it's gonna follow you here. Montana doesn't let you hide from yourself. It makes you deal with your shit. So be ready for that. He walked away before I could respond, boots kicking up dust with each step. And I wondered what he was running from too, the next morning. I learned that 4:30 a.m. came violently early. Miguel, a weathered man in his 50s with kind eyes and a quick smile, shook my shoulder in the darkness. Vamonos, city boy. The horses don't care about your beauty sleep. I stumbled through those first days in a fog of exhaustion and incompetence. Everything I thought I knew was useless here. I didn't know how to saddle a horse properly, mend a fence, treat a sick calf, or even walk through a muddy field without losing my boots. My hands blistered, my muscles screamed, and I went to bed each night convinced I'd made a terrible mistake. But I didn't quit. Jake watched me struggle with an expression I couldn't read, not quite mocking, not quite approving. He corrected me constantly, his patience wearing thin by the third day when I dropped a bucket of feed for the second time. Christ, Carter, have you never carried anything heavier than a briefcase? Actually, no, I snapped back, too tired and sore to care about being polite. You want someone who already knows everything? Hire someone else. You want someone willing to learn? Then teach me instead of just criticizing. Silence fell over the barn. Miguel and Tommy exchanged glances. I'd apparently crossed some invisible line. Jake stepped closer, and I refused to back down, even though my heart hammered. Up close, I could see the flecks of blue in his gray eyes, smell the mix of leather and pine, and something uniquely him. You've got spine, he said quietly. Good. You're gonna need it. Be here at 5 tomorrow morning. Just you and me. I'll teach you properly. Those early morning sessions became the center of my world. Just the two of us in the soft pre-dawn light. Oh my God. Jake's patience somehow infinite when no one else was watching. He taught me to approach horses with confidence and gentleness, to read the land and the sky for weather changes, to move with purpose instead of panic. His hands would guide mine on a rope, his voice low and steady as he explained. And I found myself paying more attention to the rumble in his chest than the actual words. You're a quick learner when you stop overthinking, he said one morning, as I successfully saddled my horse Dusty. A patient gelding hood tolerated my fumbling for weeks. I'm good at overthinking, I admitted. It's kind of my specialty, I've noticed. He leaned against the stable wall, studying me. What did you do before this? In Chicago? Marketing. Corporate strategy. Basically, I helped rich people figure out how to get richer by making other people want things they didn't need. Sounds soul-crushing. It was... I paused, surprised again by how easy it was to be honest with him. What about you? Ever want to do anything besides this? Something shuddered in his expression. I did once, had a whole plan, was going to go to college, study environmental science, see something of the world beyond Montana. I looked out toward the mountains. Then my dad died, and the ranch needed me more than I needed dreams. Jake, he cut me off, but not unkindly. It was 15 years ago. This is my life now, and I'm good with it. Most days, he pushed off the wall. Come on. I want to show you something. He led me out to the eastern pasture, where the sunrise painted the sky in shades of gold and pink and orange that seemed impossible. We sat on the fence rail together, shoulders almost touching, and watched the world wake up. This, Jake said quietly, is why I stay. Every morning, no matter what else is going on, I get this. You can't buy this in any city. Can't fake it. This is real. I understood then. Not the ranch itself, but what it represented: authenticity, purpose, its connection to something larger than quarterly reports and Instagram followers. Thank you, I said. For what? For giving me a chance? For teaching me, I gestured helplessly at the sunrise, at everything. He turned to look at me, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. You're doing the work, Carter. I'm just showing you where to dig, in that moment. Sitting on a fence rail, watching the sunrise with a man I was rapidly falling for, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, by my second month at Broken Creek. I could handle most basic ranch tasks without supervision. My hands had toughened, my body had adapted, and I'd stopped looking at the mountains with the wide-eyed wonder of a tourist. This place was becoming home in a way Chicago never had been. But my feelings for Jake had become increasingly complicated. We'd developed an easy rhythm working together. Eating meals with the crew, those early morning sessions that felt like they existed outside of normal time. I learned that he took his coffee black, that he had a dry sense of humor that snuck up on you, that he hummed old country songs when he thought no one was listening. I noticed the way his eyes crinkled when he really smiled, how gentle his hands were with injured animals, how he carried the weight of the ranch's 100 small crises with quiet strength. I also noticed how he'd sometimes look at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention long. Searching looks that made my skin feel too tight. "You got a girlfriend back in Chicago?" Miguel asked one night in the bunkhouse. I said carefully, "Not a girlfriend." He nodded knowingly. "Boyfriend then?" My throat went tight. Coming out had never been an issue in Chicago. The city was full of people like me, proud and visible. But here in rural Montana, I wasn't sure what to expect. "No boyfriend either," I admitted. "Been single for a while. But yeah, I'm gay." Tommy looked up from his phone and shrugged. "Cool. Miguel's got a daughter who won't stop trying to set me up with her friends. Maybe she'll leave me alone now that there's someone else to focus on." "You think I won't?" Miguel laughed. "My niece is visiting next month, Alex. She's very pretty, very smart, still gay. Miguel, worth a try." "Jake, no? I don't know. We haven't exactly discussed our personal lives." Miguel and Tommy exchanged another one of those looks. "What?" I demanded. "Nothing," Miguel said innocently. "Just, Jake, he keeps things close. Private, but he's a good man. A fair man. You don't need to worry about being yourself here." It should have been reassuring, but the way he said it made me wonder what he wasn't saying. Everything shifted the night of the storm. Montana weather was volatile, I'd learned that quickly. But this was something else. The sky went green, then black, and the wind came screaming across the plains with almost personal fury. Jake was out checking the far fence line, and when he didn't return by the time the rain started, I felt panic claw at my chest. "He knows these lands better than anyone," Miguel said, trying to calm me. "He'll find shelter." But I couldn't shake the image of Jake hurt somewhere, alone, so I did something stupidly impulsive. I saddled Dusty and headed out into the storm. The world became water and darkness and wind that tried to tear me from the saddle. I shouted Jake's name until my voice went hoarse, following the fence line toward the eastern section. Lightning illuminated the landscape in brief, terrifying flashes. Then I saw him more, rather. I saw his horse, Ace, standing near one of the old equipment sheds. "No, Jake." I dismounted, nearly fell in the mud, and stumbled toward the shed. The door hung crooked on broken hinges. "Jake." "Jesus Christ, Alex. What the hell are you doing out here?" He appeared from the darkness of the shed, and relief hit me so hard I actually staggered. He caught my arm, steadying me, and pulled me inside out of the rain. The shed was small, dusty, filled with rusted equipment and the smell of old hay. Rain hammered the tin roof like bullets. We stood there dripping, inches apart, and I suddenly couldn't remember why I'd thought this was a good idea. "You could have been killed," Jake said, his voice rough with something that wasn't quite anger. "That was the stupidest, most reckless—" "You didn't come back," I interrupted. "I was worried, so you rode out into a goddamn lightning storm." His hands were still on my arms, gripped tight. "Alex, you don't," he stopped, jaw clenching. "Why would you do that?" The truth sat on my tongue, heavy and terrifying. The rain pounded. Lightning flashed, and in that flickering light, I saw something in his eyes that gave me courage, because it would have killed me if something happened to you. The air between us went electric, more charged than the storm outside. "Alex," he said, and my name in his rough voice sounded like a prayer and a warning. You don't know what you're saying. I do. I know exactly what I'm saying. My heart hammered. I know this is complicated. You're my boss. We work together. I'm only supposed to be here temporarily. But Jake, I can't stop. I can't not feel he kissed me. One moment we were standing apart, and the next his mouth was on mine, his hands cupping my face. And the whole world narrowed to the pressure of his lips, the scratch of his stubble, the desperate, a hungry way he kissed me like he'd been starving and I was air and water and food all at once. I gripped his wet shirt, kissed him back with everything I had, years of loneliness and wanting and not quite fitting pouring into this moment. He tasted like rain and coffee and something wild, and when he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. I can't do this, he said, but his forehead was pressed to mine, his hands still cradling my face like I was something precious. Alex, I can't. Why not? Because, step back, and the loss of his warmth felt like grief. Because you're gonna leave. End of summer, you'll go back to your real life, and I'll still be here. Because I don't do temporary. Because I've spent 15 years building walls to protect this place, protect myself and you. His voice cracked. You walked in here with your designer jeans and your Chicago smile, and you've been dismantling those walls brick by brick without even trying. What if I don't want to leave? You will. They always do. He moved toward the door. Storm's passing. We should get back. Jake, please, Alex. Just let it go. But I couldn't, because I'd seen the truth in his eyes, felt it in his kiss. Jake Morrison was just as terrified and just as lost as I was. And maybe, just maybe, we could find our way together. The next 2 weeks were torture. Jake avoided me, not obviously, but enough that our easy rhythm shattered. He assigned me tasks that kept me away from wherever he was working. Our morning sessions stopped. When we did have to interact, he was polite, professional, and distant. It was worse than anger. It was like I didn't matter. I threw myself into work, trying to exhaust myself enough that I'd stop replaying that kiss, stop analyzing every moment, stop hoping. Miguel watched me with sympathetic eyes, but said nothing. Tommy offered to teach me poker as a distraction. Neither helped. The ranch was hosting a community barbecue, an annual tradition where neighbors from miles around came together. I helped set up tables and chairs, started fires in the big grills, strung lights across the yard. The work was mindless, which meant my thoughts ran wild. You gonna tell me what's eating you, or do I have to guess? I turned to find Sarah Morrison, Jake's younger sister, who managed the ranch's business side from her office in town, smiling at me. I'd met her once before briefly. She had Jake's eyes, but with more warmth in them.
Oh.
Just adjusting, I lied. Huh. She handed me a beer. You know, when Jake told me he was hiring someone from Chicago with zero ranch experience, I thought he'd lost his mind. But Miguel says you're the hardest worker they've had in years. Says you care about this place. I do. So why do you look like you're planning your escape? I took a long drink of beer, considering how much to say. Your brother is complicated. Nara laughed, a bright, knowing sound. That's one word for it. Stubborn is another. Scared is probably most accurate. She studied me thoughtfully. He's been alone a long time, Alex. After our dad died, he sort of closed himself off. Decided the ranch was enough, that wanting anything for himself was selfish. She paused. He had someone once, Daniel. They were together in secret for almost 2 years before. Daniel moved to Seattle for a job opportunity. Jake asked him to stay. Daniel left anyway. That was 8 years ago, and Jake hasn't let anyone close since. My chest went tight. I didn't know. Most people don't. Jake doesn't exactly advertise. She touched my arm gently. But I've watched him the past 2 months, and I've seen him smile more, laugh more, seem lighter than he has in years. That's because of you. So whatever happened between you two, don't give up on him yet. Walls can be torn down. Sometimes they just need the right person to keep knocking. The party filled the ranch with light and laughter and music. I helped serve food, made small talk with neighbors, and tried not to watch Jake moving through the crowd with easy confidence. But my eyes kept finding him helping an elderly rancher to a chair, laughing at someone's joke. his face golden in the firelight. Then I saw him talking to a man about our age, lean and handsome. Tommy shrugged. Same reason he says no to everything that might make him happy. He's convinced he doesn't deserve it. I made a decision then, probably stupid, definitely impulsive, but I was tired of being careful. I walked straight across the yard to where Jake stood with Cole. Sorry to interrupt, I said, not sorry at all. Jake, can I talk to you? It's important. Cole's eyebrows rose. Jake's jaw tightened. Alex, this isn't please. 5 minutes. Something in my voice must have convinced him, because he excused himself and followed me away from the party, past the barn, into the quiet darkness. What's so important, it couldn't wait. He demanded this. I kissed him. It was different from the storm. Mine was different, more certain, more desperate. I poured everything into that kiss. Every sunrise we'd watched together, every lesson he'd taught me. Every moment I'd fallen a little more in love with this infuriatingly stubborn, beautiful man. He resisted for exactly 3 seconds before he kissed me back, hands fisting in my shirt, a groan rumbling from his chest. When we finally broke apart, we were both shaking. You can't do this to me, he said roughly. You can't make me want things I can't have. Who says you can't have them? I'm right here, Jake. I'm not Daniel. I'm not leaving. You don't know that? You don't know what you're giving up. I know exactly what I'm choosing. I'm choosing this. This place. This life. You. I grabbed his face, making him look at me. I love you, you stubborn idiot. I'm in love with you. And I think I know you feel the same way. So stop protecting yourself from something good and just let me in. His eyes shone in the darkness. Alex. I'm staying, Jake. Whether you're brave enough to be with me or not, I'm staying. So you can either keep torturing us both, or you can take a chance on something real. What? For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then something in him broke or maybe healed. He pulled me close, buried his face in my neck, and held on like I was the only solid thing in a shifting world. I'm terrified, he whispered against my skin. Me too. But I'm more terrified of not trying. Pulled back just enough to kiss me against low and deep and tender. I love you too, he said against my lips. God help me, I do. Just like that, the walls came down. The ranch knew before we told anyone. Miguel smiled knowingly when Jake and I walked back to the party together, my hand brushing against his, both of us trying and failing to hide our matching grins. Sarah caught my eye across the yard and raised her beer in salute. Even Tommy gave us a subtle thumbs dash up, but it was the moment when old Mr. Patterson, who owned the neighboring ranch and had known Jake since he was born, clapped Jake on the shoulder and said, "About damn time you let yourself be happy. Son, did I realize something important?" Jake had never been hiding who he was from these people. He'd been hiding from himself. That night after the last guest left and the lights came down, we sat together on the porch of the main house. Just sitting, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me, the stars sprawling infinite above us. What happens now? I asked. Now? We figure it out as we go. He pressed a kiss to my hair. You sure about this? About staying? Because once we start this, once you're woven into this place, into mitts, gonna be harder to unravel. I don't want to unravel. I want to grow roots. Maybe for the first time in my life. He was quiet for a moment. I've never brought anyone to the house before. After Daniel, I decided the bunkhouse was safer. Fewer complications. And now? Now I'm thinking, my bed is too big for just me. His voice held a smile. And I'm thinking, I'm tired of safe. I want real. I want messy and complicated and scary. I want you. We moved slowly, both of us aware this was new territory. Jake unlocked the front door of the main house, and I followed him inside. The place was exactly what I'd expected. Hardwood floors worn smooth by generations, sturdy furniture built to last, photographs of Morrison ancestors watching from the walls. It smelled like wood smoke and leather and home. His bedroom was upstairs, a large space with exposed beams. A bed that did look ridiculously big, and windows that faced the mountains. Everything was neat, ordered, carefully controlled. I'm nervous, I admitted. Me too. He cupped my face, thumb tracing my cheekbone. We don't have to. I want to. It's been a while, and I want this to be right, Alex. He leaned his forehead against mine. Everything about you is right. We undressed each other slowly, learning bodies by touch and taste. He had scars, a jagged line on his ribs from a horse kick, burns on his forearm from a barn fire, the wear of hard work written on his skin. I traced each one with gentle fingers, and he shivered under my touch. When he laid me back on the bed, there was nothing practiced or smooth about it. We fumbled and laughed breathlessly and figured things out together. He was careful with me, checking in with looks and whispered questions, making sure every touch was wanted. And when we finally came together, skin to skin, breath to breath, it felt like coming home to a place I'd never been, but had always belonged. Afterward, we lay tangled together, his head on my chest, my fingers running through his dark hair. I didn't think I could feel this again, he said quietly. Safe, happy, like the world might actually be good. It is good. We're making it good. Promise me something, he said, propping himself up to look at me. Promise me, if you ever want to leave, you'll tell me. Don't just disappear. Don't make me wonder, I promise. But Jake, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't temporary for me. This isn't some escape fantasy. This is my life. You're my life. He kissed me then, slow and thorough and full of promise. And when I fell asleep in his arms, listening to his heartbeat steady under my ear, I felt something I'd been searching for without knowing it. Peace. The next months transformed me in ways I couldn't have imagined. I learned that I was good at this, not just the physical work of ranching, but the whole life. I had an eye for sick animals, a knack for fixing machinery, and discovered I genuinely enjoyed the rhythm of seasons. The honest exhaustion that came from real labor, the satisfaction of watching something grow because of your care. Jake taught me to ride like he did, confident and easy. Reading the horse instead of fighting it. We took long rides into the hills, checking fence lines and water sources, using work as an excuse to steal hours together. Sometimes we'd find a secluded spot and make love under the vast sky, our laughter and gasps swallowed by the wind. The crew accepted us without fanfare. Miguel started inviting us both to Sunday dinners with his family. Tommy stopped pretending not to notice when Jake's hand would rest on my knee under the table. Sarah teased us mercilessly, and also became one of my closest friends. But it wasn't all easy. My mother called one evening. 3 months after I'd arrived at Broken Creek, I'd been avoiding her calls, sending brief texts, not ready to explain the complete upheaval of my life.
Alexander.
I've been patient, she said without preamble. But this has gone on long enough. Whatever quarter-life crisis you're having, it's time to come home. Marcus says they'd take you back at the firm, and I found you a lovely apartment in Mom. I'm not coming back. Then don't be ridiculous. You're a marketing executive, not a farmhand. This is beneath you. Something hot and protective flared in my chest. This work isn't beneath anyone. These people aren't beneath anyone, and I'm happier here than I ever was in Chicago. You're throwing your life away. I'm building a life. For the first time, Mom, I know it's not what you wanted for me, but it's what I want for myself. And I need you to respect that. At another long silence. Is there someone? She asked, her voice strange. Is that what this is about? I looked across the kitchen to where Jake was making coffee, his back to me, giving me privacy, but close enough that I felt his support. Yes, I said. There is someone. His name is Jake. He's the ranch foreman, and I love him. I heard her sharp intake of breath. We'd never explicitly discussed my sexuality. It was one of those things my family chose not to acknowledge, preferring comfortable silence to difficult truth. I see, she said finally. Well, I suppose I can't say I'm entirely surprised. It was my grandfather's, Jake said quietly. He gave it to my dad, who gave it to me. Morrison men give it to the person they're building a life with. If you want it. I kissed him before he could spiral into doubt. I want it. I want everything with you. I know it's fast, he continued. And I know we should probably be more practical, but Alex, I can't imagine this place without you anymore. Can't imagine my life without you. So this is me asking officially, stay. Not as a ranch hand. As my partner in all of it. Yes, I said, laughing through sudden tears. Yes, obviously, yes. He grinned at Rare. Full smile that transformed his whole face and kissed me until we were both breathless and the coffee he'd made went cold. Spring brought new life to Broken Creek. Calves were born. Foals took their first wobbling steps, and the whole world turned green and gold with possibility. Jake and I stood in the eastern pasture at sunrise hour spot watching the sky paint itself in impossible colors. You know what I was thinking? I said, leaning against him. What? A year ago, I was sitting in a therapist's office being asked when I last felt alive, and I couldn't answer because I couldn't remember. I turned to face him. Now I feel it every day. Every morning when I wake up next to you. Every sunset we watch together. Every moment of this life we're building. I'm so alive, it's almost scary. Jake's eyes shone. You saved me too, you know. I was so stuck in duty and responsibility and protecting myself that I'd forgotten what it felt like to just be happy, to want things. You reminded me, so we saved each other. Yeah. He pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. We did. Truck rumbled up the road, Miguel, arriving early as always. In the distance, cattle lowed their morning greetings. The ranch was waking up, and we had work to do. We always had work to do, but first we had this. Each other, the sunrise. And the knowledge that we'd found something rare and real and worth fighting for. Come on, cowboy, I said, taking his hand. Let's go home. Jake smiled, laced his fingers through mine. And together we walked back toward the house, toward our life, toward our future, toward everything we've built and everything we'd become. I'd come too. It's Montana, running from a life that was killing me slowly. I'd found a life worth living, a love worth staying for. And that, I realized as Jake squeezed my hand and the sun rose golden over our land, was everything I'd ever needed. The barn raising brought the whole community together, neighbors from 3 counties, all pitching in to rebuild the structure that had been damaged in a winter storm. I moved through the crowd with coffee and sandwiches, greeting